بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, praise be to Allah. Peace be upon the Prophet Muhammad, his family, his companions. Inshallah, by the will of Allah, we continue our training course under the title Misconceptions about Islam. Today, inshallah, by the will of Allah, we are going to address a new misconception, a new group of misconception. It is the misconceptions about Muslims. The misconceptions about Muslims. We will start with the misconception about the division among Muslims. The opponents of Islam among non-Muslims claim that division is going among Muslims. And they say that if Muslims have the truth, they will not be divided. How can we clarify this? And how can we answer the opponents of Islam about this misconception, division among Muslims? Allah the Almighty addressed the believers in the Holy Quran and through the statements of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, to warn them against division and to ask them to bring unity among themselves. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, after he immigrated to Al-Madinah, he gathered both Al-Muhajirin wal-Ansar, the immigrants and the supporters. And he made a great unity between them after they were enemies to each other. And he made brotherhood between them. It exceeded any social unity in the history, to the extent that the supporters used to go to the immigrants and tell them, hey, this is my wealth, come to divide it between me and you. A great unity the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, made among the immigrants and the supporters. And after that, Allah made it clear to all believers to protect the unity between them and to avoid division. Allah, the Most High, said in the Holy Quran, وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا وَاذْكُرُوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ إِذْ كُنْتُمْ أَعْدَاءً فَأَلَّفَ بَيْنَ قُلُوبِكُمْ فَأَصْبَحْتُمْ بِنِعْمَتِهِ إِخْوَانًا وكنتم على شفا حفرة من النار فأنقذكم منها كذلك يبين الله لكم آياته لعلكم تهتدون. Subhanallah. Glory be to Allah. Great order from Allah. واعتصموا بحبل الله جميعا ولا تفرقوا. Hold fast to the rope of Allah and don't become divided. And don't become divided. واذكروا نعمة الله عليكم. And remember the favor of Allah upon you when you were enemies. And He brought your hearts together and you become brothers. اعتصموا بحبل الله جميعا ولا تفرقوا واذكروا نعمة الله عليكم إذ كنتم أعداء فألف بين قلوبكم فأصبحتم بنعمته إخوانا وكنتم على شفا حفرة من النار. And you were at the edge of a bit of the fire and Allah saved you from it. كذلك يبين الله لكم آياته لعلكم تهتدون. And does Allah make or made clear verses to you that you may be guided. A big order from Allah. That believers should hold fast to the rope of Allah and not to be divided. After being brothers in Islam. Of course, Allah and the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, set conditions for this unity. And the most important conditions to achieve unity is faith and righteousness. The believers have to fulfill faith and righteousness in order to bring unity among themselves. Otherwise, they will not be united. They will not be, succeed in this life. And Allah gave a promise to those who achieve faith and righteousness in their life. Promise of success. Promise of prosperity. Promise of ruling this earth. With what? With faith and righteousness. Allah the Most High said in the Holy Quran, وَعَدَ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مِنكُمْ وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ لَيَسْتَخْلِفَنَّهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ كَمَا اسْتَخْلَفَ الَّذِينَ مِن قَبْلِهِمْ وَلَيُمَكِّنَنَّ لَهُمْ دِينَهُمُ الَّذِي ارْتَضَىٰ لَهُمْ وَلَيُبَدِّلَنَّهُم مِّن بَعْدِ خَوْفِهِمْ أَمْنًا يعبدونني لا يشركون بي شيئا ومن كفر بعد ذلك فأولئك هم الفاسقون. These are the conditions for what? For unity, for success on this earth. وعد الله الذين آمنوا منكم وعملوا الصالحات لا يستخلفنهم في الأرض. Allah has promised those who believed and who have believed and done righteous or good deeds that He will grant them success up in this earth. ليستخلفنهم في الأرض كما استخلف الذين من قبلهم. As Allah granted success for those before them. ليستخلفنهم في الأرض كما استخلف الذين من قبلهم ولا يبدلنهم ولا يمكنن لهم دينهم الذي ارتضى لهم. And Allah will establish for them their religion that He preferred for them. And Allah will replace them after their fair security. يعبدونني لا يشركون بي شيئا. For they worship me and not associating anyone with me. And whoever disbelieves after that, he is one of the disobedient. These are the conditions of what? Of success. These are of conditions of ruling the earth. Faith and righteousness. Without that, you cannot reach the success in this life. Of course, someone might say, hey, emperors have passed or had passed before that. And nowadays, there are superpowers going around the world. And they are not believers. How? Let's see. We can say that Allah examined these people. Examine these people, and then He will not grant them the success forever. And He will not give them the success in the hereafter. It is a test. It is a test from Allah for these disbelievers, and it is a test for the believers too. Okay? In order to bring them to the day of judgment and to tell them, yes, I enabled you in this life and you did not fulfill my orders. So today you are going to be responsible for your act. And it is a test for us, it is a lesson for us that He granted the worldly success for the disbelievers to tell us that, hey, because you left righteousness, you left faith, and I granted to others. Yes. And if we study the Islamic history, when the believers fulfilled faith and righteousness in their life, and they brought Islam into their life, Islam became a way of life for them. Therefore, Allah, the Almighty, enabled them and gave them the order on earth. And they ruled the majority of the earth for more than 1,000 years until the Uthmani Caliphate, when division started among Muslims and the Islamic State started to go down and down and down. Why? Because faith and righteousness decreased in their hearts until the big fall of the Islamic era or the Islamic Caliphate, maybe before 100 years from now. Because of what? Because of going astray, committing sins, and not protecting the unity among the believers. And the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, told us at his time that the Islamic era will go down. Why? Because corruption will take place in the Islamic State. And he told us that as those before us divided into many sects, Muslims will divide too many sects also. He said, افترقت اليهود إلى 71 فرقة وافترقت النصارى إلى 72 فرقة وسوف تفترق هذه الأمة إلى 73 فرقة. Jews divided into 71 sects, and Christians divided into 72 sects, and this nation will divide into 73 sects. This is the statements of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, 14 centuries ago. That as the previous nations divided into sects, this nation will divide into sects too. Why? Because they go astray and they don't fulfill the orders of Allah in order to bring unity and to prevent division. Yes. And Allah the Almighty warned us and not to be like those previous us, those who came before us, who divided into many sects. And Allah the Most High said, وَلَا تَكُونُوا كَالَّذِينَ تَفَرَّقُوا وَاخْتَلَفُوا مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا جَاءَهُمُ الْبَيِّنَاتُ وَأُولَئِكَ لَهُمْ عَذَابٌ عَظِيمٌ. And don't be like those who became divided and differed. After signs, after proofs came to them, and for those, great punishment will be for them in the hereafter. This is a warning from Allah, not to be divided like those before us. And of course, Allah the Almighty does not change anything unless people change themselves. For sure. As Allah the Almighty said in the Holy Quran, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُوا مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. Indeed, Allah will not change the condition of a people until they change what is in themselves. And this is the sunnah of Allah on earth, that Allah will not change any condition for any nation, for any people, until they change what is in themselves. Yes. Of course, success in unity will not come back to the believers, will not come back to the Muslims unless they come back to the righteousness, to the faith. And alhamdulillah, nowadays, Muslims have started to come back to their origin, have started to come back to the faith, to the righteousness, to hold fast to the robe of Allah. And the sign of this is clear. You see this in many, many Muslim countries. people are coming back to the faith, to the righteousness. Not only this, but also non-Muslims are coming to Islam. People are coming and converting to Islam. Non-Muslims are converting to Islam in multitudes. And the population of Muslims is increasing in non-Muslim countries. And those countries, especially European countries, are expected to have Muslim majority. The Muslim population expected to exceed 50% before the end of this century. And at that time, they will become Muslim countries by majority. Okay? And then Allah will grant them the success, as Allah promised them. And Allah is the best to fulfill His promises. Alhamdulillah. Praise be to Allah. This is the first misconception related to Muslims. Another misconception related to Muslims is this: the backwardness of Muslims. Backwardness of Muslims. You know, Muslims in Muslim countries nowadays suffer backwardness, while the West is going and developing and achieving success in technology, in many in many sectors. Muslims are still behind them. Okay. Why this happened? If we would like to answer this question, why this happened, we have to go back to the Islamic history in order to know the reality, the truth. Allah the Almighty sent the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, to the unlearned nation, illiterate people, the people of Quraysh. They used to be illiterate. They used to live in Jahiliyyah, in darkness. And Allah the Almighty sent to them the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, in order to teach them. This is the first start. Allah the Most High said in the Holy Quran, هو الذي بعث في الأميين رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة وإن كانوا من قبل لفي ضلال مبين. Indeed, He, Allah, who has sent the messenger to the unlearned, to the illiterate people, in order to recite for them His verses and to purify them and to teach them the book and wisdom. Although they were in a clear error, they did not know. They know not. This is the first thing. In order to bring a big message to the non-Muslims, that Allah, the Most High, sent His messenger, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, to those who are illiterate in order to teach them. In order to teach them in order to be guided, in order to know what harm them and what benefit them. And Islam is the religion of knowledge. Islam is the religion of knowledge. As Allah sent his messenger in order to teach the illiterate, he revealed the first verse in the Holy Quran to show that Islam is the religion of knowledge. Allah the Most High said after Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق الإنسان من علق اقرأ وربك الأكرم الذي علم بالقلم علم الإنسان ما لم يعلم. اقرأ. This is the first verse revealed to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. اقرأ, read, recite. اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق. Recite, read in the name of your Lord. اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق. Read in the name of your Lord who created. خلق الإنسان من علق. Created man out of clinging blood. خلق الإنسان من علق. اقرأ وربك الأكرم. Read, recite, and your Lord is the most generous. اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق الإنسان من علق. اقرأ وربك الأكرم الذي علم بالقلم. Who taught by pen and taught man that for which he knew not. These are the first verses revealed to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, talking about knowledge, talking about reading, talking about the pen. And Allah the Almighty, He created this earth and created the heavens and earth. And He created the pen before He created the heavens and the earth. And He asked the pen to write whatever will happen in the future. It is the religion of knowledge from the beginning until the end. And not only this, not only Islam is the religion of knowledge. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, stressed that knowledge is, or seeking knowledge is a compulsory upon Muslims. And he said, acquiring knowledge is compulsory upon every Muslim. Okay? طلب العلم فريضة على كل مسلم. Acquiring knowledge is compulsory, mandatory upon every Muslim. You know why? Because knowledge is the way to know Allah. Knowledge is the way to know the faith. Knowledge is the way to know the righteousness. Without knowledge, you cannot know Allah. You cannot know His orders. You cannot know the way to the righteousness and the way to the hereafter, to the paradise and the hereafter. And knowledge is a means for fearing Allah. And Allah said in the Holy Quran, إِنَّمَا يَخْشَى اللَّهَ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ الْعُلَمَاء. Indeed, those who fear Allah the most are the people of knowledge. Are the people of knowledge. And Allah praised the people of knowledge, and He said, قُلْ هَلْ يَسْتَوِي الَّذِينَ يَعْلَمُونَ وَالَّذِينَ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. Say, O Muhammad, do the people of knowledge like those, the people who don't have knowledge? Okay. Do the people who know like the people who know not? And also Allah raised the people of knowledge degrees. Allah the Most High said, يرفع الله الذين آمنوا منكم وعملوا الصالحات درجات. يرفع الله الذين آمنوا منكم والذين أوتوا العلم درجات. Allah raises the people among you who believed and those who are giving knowledge. Darajat, degrees. Why? Because Allah loves the people of knowledge. Of course, the people of knowledge who work upon their knowledge. Who work upon their knowledge and fulfill the orders of Allah. Yes. Of course, when you study the Islamic history, through the Islamic history, you will really realize that when the believers, when Muslims acquired knowledge and acted up in knowledge through faith and righteousness, Allah granted them success, victory, and prosperity. You know, at the beginning of the Islamic history and in the middle of the Islamic history, Muslim used to be number one in many sciences, in mathematics, especially algebra, in chemistry, in geography, in medicine, in astronomy, in many sciences. While the West used to suffer the backwardness at that time. And as a matter of fact, the West used the achievement of Muslims in science and started their science from what the Muslims left for them. And now, you know this well. And the people in the West admitted that they used the Muslims' knowledge in order to develop science. And of course, when corruption started in the Muslim nation, in the Islamic State, division started to hit the strong building of Islamic era. And when faith decreased and when righteousness decreased, of course, they remained in backwardness. In the West, it started to go up and up and up until they reached these sophisticated um, technologies as you see nowadays. Why? Because Muslims divided. Muslims went astray. Muslims did not hold to the rope of Allah, did not protect the faith in their hearts and righteousness, did not act upon the orders of Allah and the orders of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Therefore, they declined and they lost unity. And unity and success, prosperity and progress will not come back to the Muslims unless they come back to the rope, to hold fast to the rope of Allah, to come back to the faith, to come back to the righteousness. And as I recited for you the verses of Allah, when Allah said, وَعَدَ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مِنْكُمْ وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ لَيَسْتَخْلِفَنَّهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ. Allah has promised those who believed and do righteous or good deeds with what? With success. Promised them with success up in this earth. If they come back, Allah will grant them the success again. And of course, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, told us about this. That decline will happen in the Islamic era, in the Islamic state. Okay? Until big corruption, until big destruction. At the end, of course. And then he told us that another caliphate, another khilafah will come back to the Muslims when Muslims come back to faith and righteousness. Another misconception about Muslims. It is Muslims and misconduct. And this is really a big misconception. Misconduct. The opponents of Islam use the bad behavior of Muslims in order to defame Muslims in Islam. And they say, look at the Muslims. They are bad. They are bad. In different perspectives. I mean, they use the misconduct of Muslims in order to stop non-Muslims thinking about Islam. Stop non-Muslims to become Muslims, especially through the Western media or the non-Muslims media. Then say to them, hey, look at Muslims. They are not dealing with people in a good manner. They are cheating. They are killing people. They are. And what you hear in the Western media and in other media, the same thing. They look at the behavior of Muslims, and of course some Muslims, not the majority of Muslims, and they don't look at the Islam itself. They don't look at the Quran. They don't look at the Sunnah, the statements of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. They just use this misconduct of Muslims in order to defame Muslims and Islam. Of course, our job is to clarify this. We have to tell non-Muslims in general that if they see any misconduct from any Muslim, any bad behavior from any Muslim, it is not from Islam. These people do not of Islam. I mean, they are not representing Islam. They are Muslims, but they are wrongdoers. They are sinful. Okay. In order to tell non-Muslims and to prove to the opponents of Islam that they are wrong, we have to go through the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, through the Quran, through the good Muslims, in order to tell them that you are wrong. First of all, Allah the Most High sent the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, with great noble character. Actually, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمُ الْأَخْلَاقِ. Indeed, I was sent not except to fulfill the noble character, the moral characters. This is the first thing. And Allah praised him in the Holy Quran, and he said, وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. Allah the Almighty said in the Holy Quran about the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. Indeed, you are of a great moral character. إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. Indeed, I was sent not except to fulfill the moral character, the noble character. And the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, used to ask Allah, ask his Lord to protect him with good character, to guide him to the noble character. Oh Allah, this is the supplication of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Oh Allah, guide me to the best character, because there is no one guide to the noble character except you. La ilaha illallah. And also, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, praised the people of good character. And he said, إن المؤمن لا يبلغ بحسن خلقه درجة الصائم القائم. Indeed, the believer can reach with his noble character the level of praying and of the believer will reach the level of a praying man, of a fasting man with his good character. And not only this, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, told us that the ones who have noble characters will be the closest to him on the day of judgment. إن أقربكم مني مجالسا يوم القيامة أحاسنكم أخلاقا. Indeed, the closest ones of you to me on the day of judgment, on the day of resurrection, are those who are those with the best character, noble characters. I mean, the Prophet Muhammad, Allah the Almighty, told us in the Holy Quran, and the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, told us in his statements that noble characters raises the believers to higher levels, not only in this life but also in the hereafter. And the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, also taught us that anyone, any believer, any Muslim with misconduct is a sinful person. Is a sinful person. And he will be responsible for his bad behavior on the day of judgment. On the day of judgment. And you know, any misconduct is committing against human being, of course. And it is a sin that it is unforgivable sin or unforgiven sin. Except if those victims forgive the sinful person. Allah can forgive any sins that is related to himself, that is related to the breakdown of his orders. But any sin directed towards any human being is not going to be forgiven unless the victims forgive the sinful persons. Therefore, misconduct is a way to the hellfire for Muslims, for believers. I mean, Allah stated this clearly in the Quran, and the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, taught us this. We have to be careful for that. And we have to clarify this to the non-Muslims, that misconduct is not part of our religion. Our religion comes with the noble characters and encourages Muslims, believers, to act upon noble characters in order to reach the satisfaction of Allah and the paradise in the hereafter. And you know, Islam is spread to many countries. Through what? Through noble characters, through good dealing. India, China, Malaysia, okay, and many Indonesia, many countries. Islam is spread through these countries, in the people of these countries, through what? Through good dealing of the traders who used to go to these countries with the noble characters. They brought millions and millions of non-Muslims to Islam. Nowadays, these countries, the population of Muslims in these countries are hundreds of millions. Maybe the majority of Muslim population is in these countries. And these countries, the people in these countries came to Islam through the noble characters, through the good dealing of the traders, of the merchants who used to go to these countries. Of course, as I said at the beginning, this misconception raised by the opponents of Islam about the bad behavior of some Muslims is directed to defame Islam and Muslims. And of course, the opponents of Islam know well that Islam does not hold this misconduct. Islam does not ask the Muslims to mistreat non-Muslims. Islam does not ask Muslims to be bad. Islam asks the believers, the Muslims, to be good, to be nice, to be righteous, to treat people, either Muslims or non-Muslims, well. Of course, alhamdulillah, praise be to Allah, despite this war against Muslim through the Western media, through the non-Muslims media, alhamdulillah, praise be to Allah. People, or a lot of people, do not listen to the media at all. They neglect the information through the media, and they start to research about Islam from its source, the Quran and the Sunnah. And they don't use the misconduct of some Muslims as a sign of Islam or good Muslims at all. They search for Islam in the Quran and in the Sunnah, and alhamdulillah, they reach the truth. They reach the truth. And Allah, the Almighty, told us about this in the Holy Quran. About those who have mind, those who give a thought, those who want to reach the truth. Among them, priests and monks. And Allah revealed about these people nice verses to be recited to the day of judgment. Allah told us about these people, the priests and the monks, who listen to who search for the truth and listen for the truth and follow the truth and follow the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and become Muslims. Allah the Most High said about these people, وَإِذَا سَمِعُوا مَا أُنزِلَ إِلَى الرَّسُولِ تَرَى أَعْيُنَهُمْ تفيض من الدمع مما عرفوا من الحق يقولون ربنا آمنا فاكتبنا مع الشاهدين. لا إله إلا الله. There is no true God but Allah. And when they hear what has been revealed to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, you see their eyes following of what? Of tears. For what? They knew of the truth. And they say, Oh Allah, we believed. Oh Allah, register us among the witnesses. These are the priests and the monks who found the truth and followed the truth, found the truth and followed the truth. When they hear the verses of Allah in the Quran, the statements of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, they admit the truth, they believe in the truth, and they follow the truth. And not only this, they ask Allah to register them among the witnesses, to be witnesses for that on the day of judgment. Alhamdulillah. Praise be to Allah, and peace be upon the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And سبحانك اللهم بحمدك لا إله إلا أنت نستعينك ونستغفرك ونتوب إليك وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.